A leader declares total victory. An enemy promises total revenge. And right there, in the gap between those two stories, a terrifying illusion is taking shape, one that could drag the entire world into a conflict with no escape. To really get what's happening, you have to go back to an ancient warning. It lays out the critical difference between the illusion of power and who truly holds it. Okay, look at this. On one side, you have Donald Trump claiming Iran is finished, decimated, ready to cry uncle. But then you listen to what's actually coming out of Tehran, and it is the exact opposite. Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, is flatly rejecting surrender. Foreign Minister Abbas Arakaji says their forces are ready. And then you have security figure Ali Larijani, who delivers a chillingly simple promise. Trump must pay the price. These are two completely different realities. So you have three separate stories all happening at once. The Trump administration is claiming victory. Benjamin Netanyahu's government is saying Iran is being crushed. But Iran is saying the United States has just walked right into a trap. And that brings us to this idea, the Machiavellian trap. It's a pattern we've seen again and again in history. You launch what you think is a knockout blow, but the enemy doesn't break. In fact, you achieve the opposite of what you wanted. You've just created a wounded, unified, and now far more dangerous opponent. The trap closes in 4 predictable steps. First, the strike, immediately followed by a public declaration of success. Second, the enemy survives. The leadership doesn't crumble. Third, the population, which might have been divided before, now rallies together against the outside attacker. And then comes the most dangerous stage. The attacker is now trapped and feels forced to just keep escalating, doubling down on a strategy that's already failed. And this isn't just some political science theory. The physical reality of what's happening right now is brutal, and it shows you the real cost of that escalation. We're seeing images that look almost apocalyptic. Oil refineries and fuel depots are just gone, engulfed in flames. At the Shan oil depot in Tehran, the fire was so intense that flaming oil literally flowed through the streets, a river of fire. This is what it looks like when things spiral. And this is exactly what Machiavelli was talking about. You see, a defeated enemy is gone, but a wounded enemy remembers. They survive, and they wait. And this is so crucial. Iran's leadership isn't just surviving, they're coordinating. President Masoud Pezeshkian is warning neighboring countries to stop hosting U.S. bases. Foreign Minister Abbas Arakaji is broadcasting that Iran's military is prepared for anything. And security figure Ali Larijani is promising retaliation. These are not the words of a government about to collapse. Not even close. This is the moment the jaws of the trap start to tighten. This fight isn't staying where it started. It's breaking out, it's spreading, and it's quickly becoming a crisis for the entire region and maybe the world. And this is why it matters to absolutely everyone. One tiny waterway, the Strait of Hormuz, almost a fifth of the entire world's oil supply has to pass through that channel. It is the jugular vein of the global economy. And Iran's threat about that choke point could not be more blunt. This isn't some polite diplomatic note. It is a direct military red line aimed squarely at the U.S. Navy and all global shipping. And you can already see the consequences rippling out. As oil prices spike because of all this instability, one country gets a massive payday, Russia. And that extra revenue flows straight into Vladimir Putin's war machine. So the result is that one war is now directly fueling another. The fire in the Middle East is strengthening Russia's war in Europe. Conflicts like this are never contained. They create chain reactions. But this might be the most chilling assessment of all, and it's coming from inside Iran. Ali Larijani says, the Americans are stuck. Now, he's not just talking about military tactics. That's a psychological statement. It means Iran believes it has already won the strategic battle. And that leads to the final stage of the trap, what you could call a psychological prison. A leader declares victory so loudly, so publicly, that they can't back down without total humiliation. Retreat becomes impossible. So the only path left is to go deeper into the conflict, no matter what it costs. So here's the trap in action. Every single intention has produced the exact opposite result. The goal was to weaken the regime. Instead, it united it. The goal was to shock it into collapse. Instead, it hardened its will to fight. The goal was a quick surrender. Instead, it's created a desire for long-term, bitter revenge. And this is Machiavelli's timeless, brutal truth.
A ruler can choose to start a war, but once it's in motion, it has its own life. The ruler isn't in control anymore. The conflict is.
So where does this all leave us? Staring at three possible futures. One, maybe, is diplomacy, where regional powers manage to pull everyone back from the brink. Two is a long, grinding shadow war, destabilizing the whole region for years. Or, future number three, the one Machiavelli always feared, direct open war between major powers. The most dangerous wars aren't the ones that start with anger. They're the ones that start with certainty. The certainty of a quick victory. The certainty an enemy will just break. And the only question left is, what happens when that certainty turns out to be a complete illusion?